Greetings, friends, and welcome to Wax and Relax, the Vinyl Listening Room. My name is John, and we're going to do a response to MGK's MGK Boston's push for 1 trillion subscribers, which would be good. That's a lot. He shouted us out on his video setting this whole thing up, and it's been great. We've gotten a bunch of new subs, so welcome aboard, and bunch of comments, so it's good. This is how this thing grows, and we're grateful that you joined us. I say we, well, partly because I'm fat and I could be more than one person, but I also frequently have my son as a co-host, so it's our show. He'll end up with it when I pass. He'll get both of you. So anyway, 10 questions here to set up this push for 1 trillion subscribers for MGK Boston. Number one, they want to know, for vacation, where would you like to go? And if you haven't been there, where would you go? For me, it's going to be Ireland. I've never had a chance to go. With a wife and 3 kids, it was always a little cost prohibitive. So I've got to live vicariously through the music and culture and arts of the motherland, so to speak. I am an Irish boy. I've got some all sorts of shamrockiness all over my body. And in my ears, we've got some Chieftains. Got to show some Irish music. I've got most of the Chieftains records, but this is a fantastic starting point for the more traditional stuff that they did in the 70s. If you need something a little more palatable, if you don't want to go that deep into the trad, you can always check out this one. This is the one that the Chieftains did with Van Morrison. If you're a Van Morrison fan, this should definitely be in your collection. Great stuff. Starts out with Star of the County Down. It's got She Moved Through the Fair, which if you're a Simple Minds fan, you'll recognize that as the Belfast Child. Next question. Name a solo artist that everyone seems to love, but you can't stand. I just don't really get Bruce Springsteen. I'm sorry, unpopular opinion. Yes, great songwriter, done some great things. Obviously has had a monster career. I like 1.5 songs off of Born to Run, but I don't get all the other stuff. It just never registered with me. Best of luck to him. Just not my cup of tea. I'd rather have Dan motherfucking Fogelberg. That's what I'm talking about. This is High Country Snows, and this is, well, first of all, gold foil promo. You can find this everywhere for like $2. If you're a country or bluegrass fan, there are some monster players on this record. Ricky Skaggs, you've got David Grisman, Doc Watson, Russ Kunkel, famous drummer, Chris Hillman, yeah. Oh, Jerry Douglas, hell yeah. So if you're a bluegrass fan, if you're a country fan, there's cool stuff all over this, but it's Dan Fogelberg and all that great kind of folky pop stuff from the 70s. That voice is undeniable. I'll take Dan over Bruce any day. Next one. Name a band that everyone seems to love, but you can't stand. I'm a metal guy. I grew up in the 80s, in my teenage years. I was there at the beginning of thrash metal. And when it was all over, it was all over. But these guys stuck around. And I just can't stand Pantera. This is my son's record. He loves them. I just really don't like them. At the point where it died, I was ready to move on. And, it just seemed like kind of, I just couldn't get with them, and I was ready for other stuff. I got really into power pop, and I got into DJing, a lot more hardcore at the time when this happened. So next, show a jazz album. For no apparent reason, show a jazz album. I'm going to show this. Sonny Rollins and the Contemporary Leaders. I love me some jazz. I love Sonny. And this record, it was weird. I discovered this record because of this record. I'm a big Steely Dan fan, big Donald Fagen fan, And when you check out this album cover of the Nightfly, he's a jazz DJ on WJAZ. And if you look in the corner, he's playing this Sonny Rollins Contemporary Leaders record. So that's how a young Steely Dan fan in the 80s discovered Sonny Rollins. All right. Next, show a country and western album. It's funny, I kind of got into country backwards. I got into bluegrass and then discovered more country from that way. Except during the 70s, when you were a young kid and you're 8 or 9 years old in 1977, 78, you watch a shit ton of Smokey and the Bandit. And when I came across this, I absolutely had to have it. Jerry Reed, Eastbound and Down, with the photo from the movie. In fact, he's given the old "What you talking about, Willis?" to the cop on the back sleeve, and it's cool. A lot of the songs from the movie are on here, and a couple of other things from from different records, but definitely fun. And this was, I don't know, $1 or $2. I couldn't pass it up. Just for the cover, I couldn't pass it up. But it's fun. Funny thing is I found some of my other country stuff in preparing for shooting this video, and I came across this David Allan Coe Greatest Hits, and I gave it a listen, and it was a lot more fun than I was expecting. This was one of those that showed up in my collection unknowing. I've talked about it before. I had a garage sale, and I ended up with more records than I started with because some of the neighbors just came and dropped off stuff in the LPs for sale box, and I ended up with more than I started with. So this was kind of a cool listen. I ride a motorcycle, so I'm familiar with what goes on with the local MCs and things like that. And Dave was an outlaw. An outlaw is a dominant MC here in Florida. And so when we go to Daytona and things like that, you always come across him, and he's almost always there playing at one of the night spots. Okay, so funny question, or kind of a weird question for records, but I wanted to see if I could figure out a way to tie a record into it. Who is your favorite sports team or athlete of all time? And being here in Tampa Bay, I was gonna say the Buccaneers. I was gonna say the Lightning. Whiskey in a lightning glass is the only way to do it. And I love hockey. I've always loved hockey. So then I honed in on that of all time. So my favorite sports team of all time, 1980 USA Hockey. That was everything about hockey. Favorite player or favorite athlete of all time, hockey player named Pat LaFontaine. MGK will know he hasn't been in Buffalo that long, but Patty La played a little bit for the Buffalo Sabres. He played a little bit for the New York Rangers, but he played most of his career as a New York Islander. And before we had the Lightning here, I was an Islander fan. So that's where he was my first hockey hero. And funny thing is he played for 3 different NHL teams and never had to change his driver's license. He played in all 3 New York teams. So I picked out a record. I picked out Raven. All for One. Reason being, because their drummer, Rob Wacko Hunter, plays on stage wearing a hockey mask. I know. A little cheddar, but I had to get it in there anyway. Good stuff. This was produced by Udo Dirkschneider and from Accept, and Michael Wagoner, who produced half of all of the hard rock and metal records of the 80s. Check it out. He's on probably 15 records that you own. Number 7, share a concert memory. Used to live in upstate New York, in Syracuse, or right outside of Syracuse. And I'm going to go back to 1982. I had, been a rock and metal fan, that was kind of the early years. And I met this guy who became a great friend of mine. And actually, a couple of years ago, he went viral because he's a pastor or, preacher of some sort, and went viral. I don't want to name him or tie anything to him, but back then we were great friends for about 3 or 4 years. We lived about a block away from each other. We listened to a lot of music, hung out, did all our cool stuff together. But when I first met him, his father was a shoe salesman and had a hookup for tickets at the Syracuse War Memorial and the Landmark Theater. So anything that came to those venues, his dad could get the tickets before they went on sale. And that was before, this is when they printed out the tickets and put them in a rack, and you bought them at the box office. You wanted 4 tickets, you paid your money, and they gave you 4 tickets that were already done. You didn't really get to pick your seats or anything like that. You got the next 4 they gave you. So we had the Black Sabbath Mob Rules tour had been rescheduled, and I would have missed it because I didn't know this guy at the time. But it was rescheduled, and by that time we had become friends. And he's like, "Hey, I've got tickets to this Black Sabbath concert. Do you want to go?" Hell yeah, I want to go. It was on the Mob Rules tour. Ronnie James Dio, the singer, awesome, great stuff. This album was recorded on that tour. None of the tracks on it were recorded at the Syracuse show. However, some of the photos on the gatefold. Hello. Some of the photos in the gatefold were taken there. This one here with the banner. The people holding that threw the banner up there were sitting in front of us. So there's several of these pictures here were taken. They were pro shot from the pit and from the first couple of rows of the Syracuse War Memorial. So very cool concert memory. Yeah, good stuff. Love it. Oh, it was also Ronnie James Dio is from Cortland, which is not far from Syracuse. And the mayor came out and gave him the key to the city. Big homecoming for Ronnie James Dio, key to the city, awesome stuff. That was back when bands like Black Sabbath were not getting a lot of civic accolades and respect. So that was pretty cool. Number 8, shout out to a newer vinyl community channel. This is great because this is how you found me, because of MGK's shout out to us, and he linked my 40 years ago 1984 video on his page for the for his contest thing. So I'm certainly grateful for that, and I want to shout out someone who I found not long ago, and I've been enjoying his channel. A guy named Daryl, called the Northern Vinyl Guy. Very cool stuff. He's way the hell up, about 3 blocks south of Santa, way the hell up north in Canada. And from what I understand, it's really difficult for him to get deliveries. So finding records has been a bit of a chore in some cases. If you can't find it locally, shipping takes a while, and so he's just getting stuff that he ordered in the '90s. So good luck, Daryl. But we'll see if we can get that Amazon truck up there sooner or later. Speaking of Canada, number 9, show an album by a Canadian artist. Kick-Axe, one of the dumbest names of any artist I've ever loved. This band opened for Judas Priest on the Defenders of the Faith tour, which would have been 1984. I bought this a couple of weeks before the show so that I could be familiar with the stuff, because that's the way we did it in the 80s. There was a band that was on that was opening. You didn't just wait to see what they were all about. You bought the record ahead of time so you'd cram for it. You'd listen to it over and over and over again so you could be familiar with the tunes, because you want to get your $8 worth of ticket money worth. And this one, really, really great stuff. It's on Pasha Records, so it had that really kind of cool sound that the early Quiet Riot records had. Spencer Proffer, was the producer, so he had that kind of signature sound. He did it with Icon, he did it with Quiet Riot, and then he did that same sound again here. It's mainly the guitar and the drum sound that he gets that's just unreal. But this band, George Kristen, lead singer, awesome singer. Freaking, like, the first guy I remember being like operatic. Played barefoot, which was crazy. And their bass guitar player, I always talk about this with my friend John. There's a part in one of the songs where he mentions about thunder. Bass player goes up and hits the top of his amp real hard, and you can hear the reverb coil just kind of making this thunder sound. Pretty cool effect without using any effects. But yeah, Kick-Axe, one of my favorite Canadian bands. I knew everyone was going to pick Rush, so I didn't go there. Number 10. Happy Birthday! Show an album that was released the year you were born. I was born in 1969. There's a ton of stuff that could have happened. I'm a huge Ridiculous Rolling Stones fan, so I could have gone with Let It Bleed. There's a bunch of records came out from the Moody Blues in '69 that could have been worth talking about, because not a lot of people talk about the Moody Blues in the VC. I'm going to pick one that a lot of I don't think I've ever seen anyone pick in the VC. This actually came out in February of 1970 in the U.S., but everywhere else in the world, the Rod Stewart album came out in 1969. Different cover, and it was called An Old Raincoat Will Never Let You Down. When it came out in the States, this was our first, he covered a Stones tune. He did Man of Constant Sorrow, way before it came out on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? You know that one. Handbags and Glad Rags on here. And he does Dirty Old Town. And so those of us from the 70s and 80s, this is where our first dose of Dirty Old Town was. Very cool stuff. Funny thing is, on some issues of this record, Rod was not expecting a lot of sales. He said the sales of this were going to be very thin. So if you look in the corner right here, it says thin. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I thought that was a pretty funny joke that I didn't hear about until, I don't know, 25 years after the record came out. Sorry about the shaky table, but I'm on a wheeled chair and you guys are the only thing holding me steady. So that's it. That is those 10 questions for MGK Boston's push for 1 trillion subscribers. Once again, I'm John. This is Wax and Relax, the Vinyl Listening Room. We do have a group on Facebook if you want to join up. Show a couple pictures of your records, talk about it a little bit. We'd love to get some discussion going on in there. Hit the like and subscribe and all that other stuff. I'd like to grow the channel a little more. I think the next thing we're trying to hit is 100 subscribers. We hit 50 not long ago, so let's see if we can, tell a friend or a neighbor, or tell someone I called you a name and that they should check out our page to see what it's all about. But until the next one, we'll see you on the B-side.